I am so excited to introduce my Direction Not Perfection community today to Tiffani Schmitz, a seasoned healthcare expert with over 32 years of experience as a registered nurse. She witnessed firsthand the impact of lifestyle choices on women's health and their lives. With a firm belief that good health does not happen on accident, but on purpose, she's dedicated her life's work to empower and inspire others. Tiffani is known for her infectious enthusiasm for wellness and has the unique ability to combine her extensive knowledge with a sprinkling in of humor to make health conversations not only informative, but enjoyable. Yes, please. Thank you, Tiffani. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have this time together today. And I did want to, before we take a deep dive into our topics, give a shout out to Tiffani and I have the same church that we call home, and it's New Life Chapel of Westchester, Cincinnati, Ohio. And I would have never met you if we never met there. So
I know. I love that we have that in common. That's so awesome. And it's such a good place to be. So lots of good people there at New Life.
Beyond amazing human beings.
Yeah.
I cannot shout that enough. And if anyone's ever going, oh man, I wish I lived in Cincinnati to check that out, they have an online channel too where you
That's
can
right.
still participate. Yes.
Yeah,
I just
totally.
think about, I think, has it been 5 years or more that we've known each other now?
I think so. We've been at New Life for 12 years. I think the church is 12 and a half years old. So we've been there about 12 years. And I remember when you and Nick came because you both have this like incredible smile. And I don't know how you guys, like if that's what attracted you to one another, but your guys' laughter and your smile just like stands out from the crowd.
Oh, now you're just being nice.
No, it's true. It's true.
Oh my goodness. So one of the coolest things because I've only known you from like that setting until we started talking health with each other one day, I always knew that you did mission trips and I feel like you
Yeah.
serve a lot for our church, but I didn't realize how you were able to carry over your profession, your nursing into this area of serving. And I thought this would be such a fun spot to start to let our listeners get to know you. That how do you use your profession? Like, what have you been able to do with nursing that has taken you into that serving area?
Yeah, it's incredible. I feel like when God gives you gifts, he gives them not just in sections of your life, but it is to infiltrate your life, right? So I have been a nurse for a long time, and back gosh, probably around the beginning of New Life, I've always had a passion from the time I was a little girl. I have loved missionaries, but that was always something that other people did. But when we started going to New Life, there were opportunities to get involved with local and global missions. And I had the awesome privilege of leading the missions team for many, many years. And we started by going into Guatemala and supporting a school and setting up a health clinic in this remote village kind of on the side of a mountain. And people flooded in. And it was our first clinic that we did in our village was pretty rough. I didn't know what I was doing, but we all showed up and we all cared. And it resonated with the people. And so using my nursing background, being able to go in and just say, hey, if what we can do is check vital signs and help deworm a village of kids that have had really poor water quality, then that's what we'll do. And so that's what we did for many, many years is we would do programs in the school. We continued to feed the children when they went to school, all throughout the year. And that just kind of carried over. We learned and we grew and the clinic got better. We expanded into other villages when we went. And it was just an awesome opportunity that God pulled together my faith and my profession to do this thing, to reach people. And medical missions is a great platform to share the love of Jesus. When people know that you care about them and they ask, why are you here? Why would you leave America? It's safe. You have air conditioning and clean water and, there's no food insecurity for your team. Why are you here? it's just a great opportunity to be able to get in there and tell them, we're here because we love you. And more than that, it's because Jesus loves you. And it just opens up conversation. So it's really powerful.
I've had chills like the entire time you're talking, and you're just so well spoken with it too.
Oh,
And
thanks.
to your point, it didn't go in, and it wasn't perfect initially. We have to like live through and learn, and it's built upon
Absolutely.
itself.
Yeah. Yeah. We were
Yes.
definitely a little bit clunky. We were not ready for the volume that we were going to get, but everyone that went just was able to, and it fits in perfect with your community, the direction, not perfection. We continue to just get a little bit better each time. So yeah, we just went in and we just did it. And the people, it resonated with the people in the village.
Gosh, thank you for tying that in with direction, not perfection, because I think there's so many times, and we can relate this in so many areas of life, that if we never would have started in the first place, and like with your cause, there would have been so many people that would have never been helped and never been affected if you worried
Absolutely.
about crossing all those T's and dotting all those I's.
Right. We prepared the best we could. We did the best
Yeah.
we could, but we knew that plans sometimes change. You got to roll with it. So we did
Yes.
plenty
And
of
I hope that
rolling.
all of our listeners are hearing that and transferring that over into whatever area of their life at the moment that they need
Yeah.
to just take that next actionable step, to just not worry if it's not perfect.
Right.
Which leads me into, I want to talk about your mission. And I kind of said it in the intro, but so I think all health professionals probably start because we care about the wellness of some other
Mm-hmm.
individuals, right? Of our
Right.
clients, of our patients. But you have niched this down to this health on purpose, this idea that it's not going to accidentally happen. We do, in fact, need to take actionable steps to get there. So I'm going to shush and hand over the floor because I would love to hear your journey of like really coming into this niche and passion for this area of health on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever been driving home after a busy day? You've been out doing all the things, you're exhausted, your list of to do things is just kind of stacking up. You're driving home, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, how did I get here? Like, where did the last 5 miles go? Right? You kind of get in this autopilot. Well, I spent many, many years just on autopilot in my life, where it was wash, rinse, repeat. You just keep doing the same thing. I'm going to work, I'm coming home, I'm exhausted, I crash, I grab something quick, throw something quick in for the kids, whether it's just all the wrong food, but it was the easy thing to do. And even though I'm a nurse, I really wasn't taking care of my health until I had this experience where I just started with this horrendous vertigo, and it didn't go away. It did not go away for months. It turns out that I had a diagnosis of Meniere's disease. And I was on temporary disability. I had my driving privileges suspended. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. And so the normal course is that the doc puts you on, I did all the testing, had the diagnosis confirmed, started me on medications, started doing some vestibular rehabilitation, trying to get my inner ear, functioning correctly again. And I did okay for a while. He said, maybe cut back on the salt. That was all the dietary, instruction and coaching that I got, was cut back on the salt. So, okay, I cut back on the salt, started taking the meds, did the things, got a little bit better. But, I would have these ups and downs and ups and downs. And it wasn't until several years later, I was having just this exacerbation. These symptoms were coming back. They weren't going away. I had a lot of pain and ringing in my ear and a little bit of hearing loss going on. And I went and saw this, a different ear, nose, and throat specialist. And he talked to me, he examined me, he sat back and he said, well, we've got a couple of treatment options. We can inject corticosteroids into your inner ear. And I said, heck no. That just sounds awful. What's the or? He said, or you can figure out what's triggering your migraines, because this is related to your migraines. And so that's what really got me on this pathway of pursuing health intentionally and getting really focused on making healthy lifestyle choices. What evolved over time was not only did I eradicate the Meniere's completely, I've completely gotten rid of my migraines. I also have reversed my prediabetes. My cholesterol is almost normal. It's not quite there yet, but it's almost normal. My hemoglobin A1C, my weight has dropped, like all these things. And all of those, other than the Meniere's, everything was without prescriptions, without any medications. I was never prescribed anything. And my husband is my greatest supporter. So we're in it together. And if I do something, he does it just to show support, just the moral support. He's not going to eat pizza while I'm not eating pizza,
Which so you're lucky. That's not always the case.
It's not always the case, but he personally has reaped the benefits of healthy lifestyle. He just turned 60 and ran a marathon for the first time. He's been able to, his doctor has taken him off 2 of his 3 cholesterol medications. I mean, just all these benefits, he looks like we just celebrated his birthday, and one of his friends said, he's a freak of nature. I would think maybe he's 45. It's like, no, he's 60. He looks good. He looks really good, but his health, from the inside out, he's good. And so that's kind of our personal journey in getting into really functional medicine, healthy lifestyles, holistic controls, because there's so much that we can control that we don't realize. And it's hard to focus on it when you're in this autopilot mentality. It's the routine, it's the monotony, it's the convenience, it's the overpacked schedule, that we all fall into because we buy into this idea that busy is better. And it's not always.
Yeah, it's wearing that busy badge of honor, right? We need to take our busy badge off and not be quite so proud of it. Yes.
Right.
I want to unpack a little bit here and go all the way back to the ENT appointment, because first of all, I'm proud of this ENT physician for going, well, we have options and here's more of your holistic option. Was he a holistic doctor, or he just took the time to actually have that conversation with you?
He took the time to have the conversation. He was downtown at University Medical Center. Top notch, head trauma specialist, because migraines and Meniere's related to head traumas, which I'd had one as a kid. Didn't know all that was tied together. But he didn't go into any more than figure out what triggers your migraines. He really left it to me. And he said, if you can figure that out, and this is the guy that has dealt with a lot of concussion injuries from blasts. He was a military doc. And so he dealt with a lot of soldiers and Marines and just military service members that have had, combat related head traumas. And he said most migraines, including traumatic ones, can be managed if you figure out what's triggering them. And so that really set me on the path to what's triggering my migraines. And for me, it's gluten and dairy and pretty much anything in a box, bag, or a can. So
okay. So wait, you're panicking people at the moment because they're going, here we go. You're going to tell me I can't have anything I've ever. So don't worry, listeners. We're going to gently unpack this together.
We will gently unpack this. That's right.
Well, okay. So sorry, I keep interrupting you because I feel like when you first started thinking I need to figure this out, were you already far enough along in your journey to be ready to kind of participate in a journey like this? Or did you have any moments of panicky, don't tell me what to do. I'm not ready to do this. I don't even think it'll help. What were some of the thoughts running through your head as that option was given to you?
Yeah, I think I was at a point that I knew that something had to change. I didn't like where I currently was. My medications were not working. I achieved the maximum benefit, the therapeutic benefit of the meds that I was on, and they really weren't working. I was having these exacerbations, even though I was watching my salt and taking the meds faithfully. And so I was at a point to where I felt like something was missing and I didn't know what else to do. And so I researched, I found this ENT who was expert, high quality, top of his field. And I thought, this guy will have answers for me. And he connected the Meniere's to the migraines. He said Meniere's, it's like an auditory aura. A lot of people have visual auras associated with their migraines. They'll see light halos or shooting lights or something. That's a visual aura. He said he believed that my Meniere's was an auditory aura. It's very, very real. But it was associated with migraines. And so, yes, we could treat the Meniere's, but let's get to the root cause. And that was his point was, yeah, we can do these injections in your inner ear, and when he said I was like, I'm all in with the or. I'm all in with that. So I had my panic when I was initially diagnosed, a couple of years prior. That's when like the earth shook beneath us because I couldn't drive, I couldn't work, all the things that I was doing, I couldn't do anymore. And so nurses are typically not great patients, but in that case, I was the best patient ever. I did everything he told me to do so I could walk safely through my house again, and be able to start driving again. So by the time I got to, this guy down at UC and he was saying, figure out what's triggering the migraines, I thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out. We're going to do this, whatever it takes.
Which brings up my next question, because I'm sure, like you said, you were going in here hoping probably for all the answers. Mm-hmm. And yet he gave you the next great step, next great puzzle piece, but it wasn't all of it. Was there some level of disappointment with that where you're like, this is good, but I was hoping for more?
I think that I knew, because of my clinical background, I knew that there weren't a lot of great treatment options for me at that point that I was willing to do. Mm-hmm. And the injections in the inner ear, that probably would have gave me temporary relief, but it was not a long-term solution. And so, yeah, I was really wanting the long-term solution. I was wanting the magic wand. And so when I didn't get the magic wand, but was pointed in a different direction, that's when it really started to click with me that I had better get it under control. I don't have a lot of treatment options that I'm willing to do. And if he's telling me that I can get it under control, I better figure out what that means. Especially, it never dawned on me that I could actually get rid of my migraines. That never dawned on me. I didn't know that was a thing. And I think it gets in our mindset that it is common, and we are lured into believing that it's normal. But common does not mean normal. Yes, there are a lot of things health-wise that are common in our society, but they're not normal. And just because we can somewhat manage them with medications we shouldn't accept them as our status quo. Like, this is not the level that I want to be functioning at. I want to be functioning at a higher level. So,
yes, thank you for saying that. And we'll just let everyone take that in for a second. It does not mean normal, does not mean that has to be your area that you have to sit. Yes. And survive in it, which is what you're doing with migraines, or things that like truly affect your whole day. And that's one of my messaging things is we want to thrive, and it's hard to thrive when we don't feel good. Right.
That's right. That's right. We have to get out of this survival mode and get into thriving. I want to do more than just get through my day. I want to live on purpose, fulfilling my purpose all throughout the day. And it's like, how do you do that? How am I supposed to go out and fulfill this purpose that God has given me, go and love my neighbor when I can't even get off the couch? you know,
Right.
like I'm supposed to be a world changer, but I get winded carrying laundry upstairs. So how am I supposed to do these things? Right. And what I wanted for my life and for my family's life was to really step into all of these things that I knew God had gifted me for. I just wasn't able to do. Like it just wasn't going to happen. I physically wasn't able to do it.
You hit your pain point. You hit your moment of this is no longer okay, and I will
Mhm.
do anything to change it. And I'm bringing that up. And
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time to like really take time on this whole journey because anyone can insert their own. And you mentioned diabetes earlier. It could be somebody living with high blood sugars. It could be somebody living with gut related issues, food sensitivities. Like
Yep.
there's this whole health arena that if we don't hit our true pain point with it, sometimes we're not quite motivated to change yet. And then once
Right.
we go, this is no longer acceptable. Now if we weren't open to the gluten-free, all of a sudden it's like, well, let's just at least try something. Let's give something a go. Even though it seems hard, that might be less hard than living in the hard that was happening. I don't
Yeah.
know. Do you agree with that?
I do. I do. And I think we have to choose. I read something the other day, choose your hard, right? It's hard living with diabetes. It's hard living with migraines. It's hard living with Meniere's disease. But it's not as hard. Yeah, food planning, food prep, eat in more than you eat out, those that's hard. But I'd rather do that hard than debilitating hard because the hard I choose is for my health. I'm choosing and prioritizing my health. And it's not always easy or fun or convenient. It's fun because I feel good. I have enough energy to get me through the day. And, I feel great and I can do all the things I want to do. I'm not limited by physical issues. I don't have those limitations.
Right, right. And expensive is the other word that just came to my mind because I have a
Mm,
lot of kickback sometimes with, oh, but it's so expensive to eat healthy. It's so expensive. Well, it's also expensive to be on medications and it's expensive to do the doctor's visits. So it's choosing your own level and the healthy one just feels better because I always think of
yeah,
empowering women, empowering people to make it your own journey. And the
yeah,
food and is an actual area as well as movement that we do have control.
yeah,
We can't control the outside, but we can control our choices.
100%.
But
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So we have your personal journey, which moved you into this is where I'm assuming your enthusiasm and your passion was like, now I want to go help others. Kind of take us down that path and what
Yeah.
you've built around this.
Yeah. So going back to my love for missions and my love for the faith and the church and just people, I've always tried to be there for people, be there for others. And through the years, we've had opportunities to come alongside other couples that have been struggling in their marriage, struggling in their relationships, and we've done a lot of coaching and just ministry. Just have coffee with someone and listen to them and encourage them and be the voice that speaks truth into them. And over time, I realized that, again, all of these paths are not divergent. They're not, do this or that, but it's like God is kind of bringing them into, hey, you can do both. Use your gifts, use your passions to serve the church, to serve the community, to serve other women that are struggling, regardless of their faith, regardless of their beliefs or their church history or anything. There's women that are out there struggling, wondering, is it always going to be like this? And whatever their this is, right? Whether it's their health, their relationships, their career, whatever it is. And having the opportunity to have sat next to so many women and just be able to listen to them and pour into them. And a lot of times I'm getting as much out of it as they're receiving. I've done a lot of health coaching, just kind of informally over the years, someone saying, hey, Tiff, what do you think? Can you recommend? Can you help with this or that? And I just have been helping out and being nice. And this summer, early in the summer, I just really felt like now's the time now's the time to start my own practice. I'm not getting any younger. I'm still working full time in the ER, doing a job, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and I love it, because it helps me keep my skills, sharp and fresh, and lets me be able to go and do the medical missions that I'm still doing. But I realized that there's still this thing in me that I want to still be able to pour into women and come alongside and help support them. So it really was formalizing what I've been doing informally and making it a thing, making it an official thing.
That's so awesome. And I feel like you can just tell you're so smart, and your ability to like quickly put that all together because you've been doing it for years, into kind of a program, into a course it's really amazing how fast you were able to throw that all together. Because I don't know, I think it just took me years to be like, my clients have all been telling me this. And then it makes so much more sense to have like the same conversation. And I'm sure you were like this with your clients and patients. You're kind of saying the same thing every day, maybe tweaking, but the same conversations keep coming up. And so I love that you've already put it into a formalized way to get those conversations across. How long if somebody were to jump on board with you, what's kind of that magic number where you're like, we need this amount of time together?
So what I do is a 12-week coaching program, and it's anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour a week. I like the group settings because it builds kind of that camaraderie. It builds this sense of community, which I love, is getting other like-minded people together. So it's a 12-week, and really it's not, 12 weeks is not going to eradicate the illnesses, right? 12 weeks is learning healthy habits. It's listening, it's learning to listen to your body. And in spite of, I had one client tell me that her lab tests are completely normal. Like, according to the lab, everything is great for her, but she still feels awful. She feels terrible. And so it's getting beyond the laboratory tests and really learning to listen to your body and develop that intuition about yourself, so that like, hey, this is no longer in my best interest. It served me at one point, but it no longer serves. And so I'm going to let this habit go, and I'm going to replace it with something now that it is in my best interest. This is going to help me in the long run. So long answer to a short question. 12 weeks is where I start with my clients.
Well, and I picture, because we just talked migraines and Meniere's, that now people would be like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to Tiffani. But who are like those individuals that you commonly see coming to you with what type of root problem?
So I'm getting referrals for young women that have a lot of energy and fatigue related to their PCOS, the polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've had several clients. One of them, she shared her testimonial, and I've got it posted, but I'm so proud of her because she came to me her junior or senior year in college, felt called to go to the mission field, and knew that she didn't have the energy to do it. And had been advocating for herself with her doctor, and just really wasn't getting the traction that she wanted. So she came to me. We worked together for 12 weeks, and she's now serving on the mission field in Guatemala. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like my job here is done. It's just,
there's your one,
Oh my gosh. It's just, my heart just explodes for her. I'm so incredibly proud of her. She's just this beautiful, beautiful young woman who loves Jesus and has figured out how to love him with all her heart, with all her mind, with all her strength, her physical strength. And she's out there and she's just crushing it. So it's just one of the coolest things.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. It is that's when it's the bigger fight. And we always talk about, finding your why you care. And for my population, it's getting people off of caring as much about the scale and onto bigger whys of wanting to play with grandkids, of wanting to participate in life, get off the sidelines. And you are doing that as well. And taking, it's hope is the word that keeps coming to my mind. You're giving so much hope that when so many individuals have walked into a doctor's office and been turned away with like a medication option or this is just something you're going to live with, where you're going, some questions. Let's dive there a little deeper. And we need that. We need to know there's like that next step. Okay, I didn't get my answer here, but I could go here and ask some more questions. Do you do a lot of referring?
I do. When I have patients that I've been working with that get stuck in an area that I feel like is more biological than behavioral, then we will do some more deep diving into really determine, is this a food sensitivity? You can be doing all the right things, but if you're eating something and you're the registered dietitian, if you're eating something that your body doesn't tolerate, you're not going to get anywhere. We have to get down to those causes. If it's a deeper hormonal imbalance, and not just female hormones, but all the hormones, all the complicated endocrine system. If it's looking like it's one of those issues, then I do refer to other coaches, to other medical professionals to really help get them fine-tuned and get them to overcome. So as a registered nurse, I am not an alternative to the medical care. What I look at is amplifying the medical care. And it's absolutely confirmed with my clients, because they will say that they have learned more from me about their diagnosis than they ever have from their doctor, because the doctors they don't have time. They truly don't have the time to sit and teach. And they are pharmaceutically driven. That's the nature of our healthcare system. It's a pharmaceutically driven system. I call it a sick care system. I think true healthcare happens in the grocery store, in your kitchen, at the table, wherever you're eating. It happens on your downtime. How do you spend your leisure time? That's where your healthcare happens. So I'm not a replacement. What I do is amplify. It's not them or me. We're going to help get you, as when your doctor says, focus on your, lifestyle changes. That's where I come in. Like, as a nurse, let's talk about this. Let's talk about, and I do a lot of teaching around insulin resistance. I do a lot of teaching around the origin and the etiology of fatigue and exhaustion, and why your sleep is as important as your diet. It's so important. So,
yes, I'm loving this. And thank you for saying the word both. Both comes to mind. We're not throwing regular healthcare systems under the bus. It's that amplification. It's the pairing of that you need both at any given point. And I just can see people again being overwhelmed by this. Where do I start moment? And maybe just for a moment, let's go super simple and like some of your quick start, low hanging fruit type thoughts. You mentioned sleep, like maybe that's part of this. When you have somebody who's like not fully committed to a program, but you're trying to just help them get started as they walk out the door. What are some of your biggest tips on that?
Yeah. The first thing that I tell my clients is, I would be a horrible, horrible human being if I threw you into the deep end before I taught you how to swim, right? So you got to learn how to hold your breath and kick your feet before you get into the deep water. So, my journey has been over years and years, right? That's how I've gotten to where I am. So what I tell my clients, I'll just give you the first session for free. My first session is, hey, let's clear clutter. Let's look around in your life and let's start getting intentional about clearing clutter. What area are you overwhelmed by? Is it your calendar? Is it your car? Is it your closet? Like what is like physically overwhelming you? And let's start clearing clutter. And it's just a tiny little change. And it's not you're going to spend all Saturday and you're going to get that cleaned out. No, set a timer, do 15 minutes a day. That's it, just 15 minutes, right? So we start super simple, and we build positive traction and positive momentum. And I don't prescribe diets for people, but I help them determine what foods give them energy and what foods cause them to crash. And so it's little things. What works for me is not going to work for you. And just because I eat a certain way doesn't mean that's in your best interest. There are some general things that we should probably all avoid, like, sugar and chemicals and all the processed food. But we learn over time. And it's not just learning what to eat, but when and why and how we eat. How long does it take us to eat? Just very simple, high level. So I don't dive deep into pathophysiology. I don't dive deep into overwhelming. We just start simple and we have fun. We have so much fun. We do a lot of goofy things, fun things, because if it's not enjoyable, we're not going to continue on with it, right?
Amen, right? Yes. Why would we ever want to show up if A, we don't like the person we're working with, and B, that it's just all supposed to be miserable and hard the whole way through? No.
Right.
But yet people think that. I do feel like we've been so diet mentality trained that it feels like unless we feel deprived, unless it feels hard, then we're not going to get results fast enough. And that's that settle-in process.
Well, I think we get into this mentality. I was listening to one of my coworkers, in the hospital, the struggles that people have in trying to find what's going to work for them. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we still have the magic pill mentality. If I can buy it, it might be expensive. It's going to be quick and convenient. That's going to be my solution. And I want to shift away from that because your health is for the rest of your life. So it's not this one quick thing that you're going to do, whether it's a surgical intervention or the latest diet trend. And I was just thinking the other day about some of the pills that have been approved by the FDA that have left people devastated. Like just because it's FDA approved doesn't mean that it's okay. And we have to shift away from that. But looking at this over the long haul, it is fun. Explore new recipes, find new things, try the weird food that you've never had before. You might love it, like step out of your comfort zone and be a little adventurous and pull people in with you, invite friends over for dinner and make a fabulous meal and don't tell them it's healthy. Just let them love it. It's like an ambush. Like, right. Oh, by the way, this was all healthy for you. And it's good.
That can come later. They can know that they ate healthy after the fact.
That's right. That's right.
I know. Oh, yeah. All these tips and tricks that when implemented in real life, that's where I love the coaching component, because once you set out to do it, you don't know where the kickback's going to come until you're living in it. And like you said, you had a very supportive husband. Sometimes family members aren't supportive.
Yeah.
There's all these things that can derail us. And then what's fun about having a coach like yourself is your client would come back into you and you can just put them right back on the right track. Like
absolutely
navigate through that. Yeah,
absolutely. Overcoming obstacles is that's something that we talk about continually is, if things didn't go well, we're not going to approach that from a judgmental perspective. Like, let's not judge ourselves, but let's enter into that from a perspective of curiosity. Like, what was going on that prevented that from happening? What were you feeling, and what kind of stress, or what else might have been distracting you from and keeping you from following through. So that's one of the other things that I think we need to give ourselves grace. We need to, again, we're not pursuing perfection. The number on the scale is nothing more than a data point. It is not a judgment or a value or a determinant whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day. I don't care if you're in your fat jeans or your skinny jeans. Let's talk about how are you managing stress? Let's talk about, all these other things. The rest will come, the rest will come. But if we can get into the mindset of grace for ourselves and continuing to just do a little bit better. I read a statistic the other day. If you do 1% better every day, 1% better every day for a year, you're 37 times better at the end of the year than you were at the beginning. Like the exponential increase is tremendous. And it's just like little bitty baby steps.
It's so funny. I'm having chills again right now because I literally just read that this morning. Like,
did you really?
It was, yes, it was on a podcast I was listening to. And then the reverse is true too. This is your not on purpose part. Like, this is part of what has been going through my brain the whole time, is if we're not intentional, we can accidentally 1% the other direction.
Yeah.
And by default be that much worse by the end of a year too.
Absolutely.
Which was like, right.
Yeah.
That compound effect.
Yeah.
Which I know that a lot of people, Darren Hardy and James Clear, like I feel like two authors that I really like, that Atomic Habits. And both of you are preaching the same thing. Little by little by a little becomes a lot, or the small changes make a big difference. And then it's just helping our clients settle into that, like really getting out of this quick fix pill will fix it, magic pill will fix it mentality, which I think is just going to forever be a little bit of an uphill battle. And that's okay. Like, we'll get there generations down the road.
Right.
Yes. But it is a settle in at the moment. So no, thank you for sharing that, because that obviously needed to be heard today. Somebody's taking that away with them.
I hope so.
And running with it. If people are going, man, I really like Tiffani, where could I go ask some questions or find you? Where do you like to steer individuals?
I've got a website. It's healthonpurpose.us. We're in it together. So it's healthonpurpose.us. There they can connect with me on Facebook. I'm happy to share any of those links, or just direct contact, shoot me a text or fill out the contact card on my website, any of those.
Wonderful. Okay. And I don't want to wrap up, but we're going to wrap up. I'd love to ask this question to my guests, is just this whole, if you could wrap your arms around our listeners today, if you had one thing that you hope and pray that they heard from you today, what would that be? I
think that what I would want someone to know is how immensely loved they are and how tremendously valuable they are. It's not an accident that we are where we are. There's this verse in the Bible that says God establishes our boundaries and our time. And I take that away as He has determined our latitude and longitude. He put us in this exact location on the globe, right here. He chose this time, this chronological time on an eternal calendar. He chose us to be. And it's not by accident, and it's not random that we're here. We're here on purpose and for a purpose. And the gifts that He has given us are to pour into and share with a broken and hurting world. And I believe that if we all collectively had the energy and the confidence and the health and wellness to step into our God-given purpose and calling, this world would be entirely turned upside down. And that's what I want. That's what I want your listeners to know, is they're not forgotten. They are loved. They are cherished. They are valued. And step into it, because there is a life of awesome adventure that's just waiting to be had when you're ready to embrace it.
Oh, so good. You hear that, listeners? Step into it. That is your challenge today. That is your take motivation into action today and step into your power that you've been given. Tiffani, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
I am so grateful for this opportunity, Lindsey. I feel like I get so much energy from you. I love that we're running in the same circles.
I 100% agree. And the same thing, even when you text me, I get this, like, I just need you around me more.
Right back at you, girl.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And this is not it. You're coming back on at some point.
Oh, so exciting. Thank you so much.